I'd like to call the Development Review Board to order, August 15th, 2017. You got
Okay,
the-
first item on our agenda are the minutes from our last meeting.
Any changes? Oh, don't see any. Need a motion?
Move to accept.
Move to accept. Charles seconds, all in favor?
We do have a sign-up sheet for folks that want to speak to the board this evening, and right up here on the, right up front here. It includes the following oath statement. I solemnly swear or affirm under the pains and penalty of perjury that the statements I make, testimony I give, and other evidence I submit to the board at the board's public hearing held on this date shall be true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And again, we just ask that folks sign that sign-up sheet before they speak to the board this evening. We have two hearings this evening. Are there any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding those matters this evening?
And none? Don't see
None?
any.
Okay. All right, our first hearing is Town of Bennington, 78 Bowen Road. The town is seeking approval for a new salt shed and fueling station at the new Department of Public Works facility on 78 Bowen Road. The application review panel did review it last evening and did recommend approval. However, they've asked Nick Myron from MSK to make a brief presentation to you folks so you know exactly what to expect. And so, Nick, take it away.
Hello. My name is Nick Meyer with MSK Engineering. I'm here to present the Bowen Road garage improvements. What we're proposing is an 80 by 80 foot salt shed in the northeast corner of the property and a new 12,000 gallon fueling station in the southeast corner of the property. And in addition, a new overhead door will be installed on the west portion of the building, and a 20 foot wide access drive will be installed to connect the existing Bowen Road. This is an existing industrial facility.
Nick, excuse me. I guess some folks are having a hard time hearing you because of that air conditioning, so we'll just, that's not.
It's not working. I'll try.
Use your outside.
My outside, should I start from the beginning or?
Can we move this over so that they can see it? Can you see it?
I can see.
We'll let you go and take a look at it.
Okay.
So,
All right, go ahead.
Sure. So the the proposed improvements are an 80 foot by 80 foot salt shed in one corner of the building, and a 12,000 gallon fueling station in the southeast corner of the building, and a new overhead door will be installed on the west side with a new access drive down to Bowen Road. The fueling station and the salt shed will both be installed entirely within the existing asphalt pavement. They'll be saw cut out and the buildings will be installed. The salt shed is going to be 32 foot high wood framed building. It'll have 14 foot reinforced concrete push walls and a wood framed roof and wood siding that will be painted brown to match roughly the brown color of the existing facility.
Can I have some questions?
Sure.
Is there anything, this is what's concerning us?
Excuse me, the board goes first.
The board will go first and then they'll let you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's just how it works. So you'll have an opportunity.
Never been in court,
No,
so.
sorry. So let them go first and then you'll have an opportunity to go further.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nick, do you have a picture of that fueling station that you showed us yesterday?
I do,
That
yes.
you put up there so the camera can see it?
This is a picture of a typical fueling station. It will consist of two 6,000 gallon tanks with a fuel pump for each one, and it'll be on a concrete slab surrounded by bollards to protect them. Can you get a shot of that? Would you like me to pass this around? Yeah.
Any other questions? Yep.
Is the building in use at the present time?
It's we're renovating it.
Okay, but it's not in use.
It's not currently occupied, it's being renovated.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. You have to come up and sign, in and just
Okay.
state your name.
Okay, just where do I
Yeah, the signage.
I actually don't have a question about the building itself. It's behind the building that I'm concerned about.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I can ask my question then. I just want to know, because there's a lot of trees behind this building, and it's actually very, it's our privacy.
Sure.
Between Bowen Road and our house, it's about the only privacy we have. And I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be any clearing
Which-
behind that building.
Which side are you on?
We're on the back side, on the other side of the river.
Yeah, there will be some limited clearing on this side of the building for the access drive and to relocate the propane tank enclosure.
Okay.
But there'll be no clearing.
Okay,
anywhere
that was my
behind.
big concern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no clearing is going to be included at all.
Okay,
And you shouldn't expect any clearing there ever because it is wetlands. And
right, that, I
Right.
kind of
Essentially
thought that,
undeveloped.
but I needed to come to
Yeah,
find out.
just to put your mind at ease,
for
there won't be
sure.
anything
Yeah,
like that
okay.
there. Yeah.
Good.
All right,
Anything
great.
else?
No, that's it. That was all we cared about.
Could you state your name for the record? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the audience want to quit? Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
I move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ron seconds. All in favor? All set, Nick?
All right, thank you.
All right, our next hearing tonight is DCH Investments, 751 North Bennington Road, Honda and Toyota. They are seeking approval for the construction of a new auto dealership and renovation of the existing auto dealership on that site. Pursuant to our rules, there are 2 hearings required. This is the first of the two required hearings. So this will be preliminary review this evening. I will say I've met with these folks a few times, several times, and I think that they've worked hard to try to meet our regulations, and I'm sure they'll have a good presentation for us this evening.
There, now I'm official. Hi, I'm Frank Parent with Long Trail Engineering, here on behalf of DCH Investments and Carbone Honda, Carbone Toyota, Don Carbone. We've got our architect and our project manager here with us to go over the whole project. I'll start with kind of the site issues, and then I'll let Dennis get into the actual building and aesthetics and that end of things. Let me just grab my notes. Might as well start with our existing conditions plan and our demolition plan. This building in the center is the existing dealership, which is Honda
Excuse
and
me, Frank.
Toyota.
What drawing is that?
This is sheet E1,
Okay.
existing conditions / demo plan. Right, the one with all the red markings on it. So the red is all the stuff that's either getting changed or coming out, but we've got the existing building in the middle of the property, Route 67A, running up and down. The main project entrance is up here, shared with Carbone, Hyundai, and Ford as well. And then there's a rear entrance that connects to Home Depot in the back. So we had to do 2 things. One was corporate wanted a new building for Honda. And as part of that, we're doing some renovations to the existing building, and that building will be strictly for Toyota. So for the existing building, this red hatched area in the front, that's going to get demoed and rebuilt, and we'll get into what that looks like in a minute. Along the front, there's a little bit of grass here we're going to cut out so that we can have an access aisle coming straight all the way down. And again, the next plan will make more sense. We've got some parking in here that's going to come out. And all the trees that are shown in red are trees that have to come out for construction but will be replaced as part of the proposed work. So this is sheet C1. I made a fancier color copy because I thought it was easier to see. The one you have doesn't have all the hatching on it. But I figured from a distance this would be easier to look at. So you can see on this sheet, it shows the proposed Honda building at the south end of the site. And we had gone back and forth with the location of this building. Our first preference was to have it set back at the same setback as the existing building would be. But with the new zoning, we couldn't do that. And we couldn't keep it that far back because with not being allowed to have any parking in front of the building, we just wouldn't have had enough parking for the project. So we moved it forward as much as we could to get the parking we needed, but we didn't want to push it too far forward so that as you're coming down the road, the Toyota building is hidden. So it was, this is probably the 10th option that we looked at going through it. So it's set a little bit forward. And because this is set forward, when I was mentioning we wanted to open up the access here, that's why we need to do this, so that without this open, if you were to come in, you'd drive straight down in front of the building, and then you'd have to jog this way and that way and come around. And we just thought that'd be a pretty confusing maneuver for people, and in an emergency, just undesirable. So with this access open, you can come straight down. For deliveries, emergency vehicles, customers, you can still drive all the way around both buildings, and with enough room for deliveries, tractor trailers, anything to come in and out of the Home Depot access as well. Also in the front, we got rid of this row of parking, and that's going to be grass now, so we'll have a little more green space in front of the building. Some more green space in front. We've got some display-only parking directly in front of the building for both Honda and for Toyota. For Toyota, per our conversations with Dan, since we're renovating and taking down part of the building, but since it's more or less staying the same, we thought we could keep the parking that's existing in front of the building, which we still do. And then, let's see. So the other dark green areas are, basically, those are the new grassed or landscaped areas. Basically, we have an island over on this side, and we had to switch it and just kind of played shuffle the parking islands a little bit. But we ended up with, in terms of the green space and the islands, more than the minimum that's required from the zoning in terms of minimum spacing. To the rear, we have a auxiliary parking lot, I guess you could call it. And we know there are restrictions on that, and we're fully expecting that those be conditions in the permit. This is a slightly different color because we're going to do permeable pavement in the back. This will all be regular asphalt. It's covered by state stormwater permit, and we've managed it so that we don't trigger the need to re-permit anything on the front. And on the back side, our options are either install a stormwater permit that would have had to been, everything would have been under the parking lot and just very, very expensive when you do it under the parking lot. So instead we opted for permeable pavement so that in the end, when it's all said and done, the runoff from the site will actually be a little bit less than what it is now because you'll get more infiltration in this back lot than you do now. Some other considerations for utilities. We've got public water, public sewer. I've been talking to Terry Morse, and he's told me verbally that the town can provide water and sewer for both buildings. There'll be a new water and sewer connection for the new building, obviously, a new water connection for the existing building because the current water connection goes right through where the new building needs to go. We're going to tie in, the closest sewer is actually up here, so we're going to run a sewer line up through the existing parking. Buried utilities coming in from the road. The new building will be heated with and cooled with LP, and we'll have buried tanks. Those will be back in the corner of this parking lot. In the back, we're going to have a fence dumpster for Honda. There's already buried LP tanks and a fence dumpster for the existing building up here. There is a Class 2 wetland that runs along pretty much the property line in this corner, which we're going to be keeping 50 feet away from. We'll have one culvert that does discharge into the buffer, which we're getting a permit for from the State Wetlands Division for that. And those are the site issues. Also, the plan you have might now be a little bit easier to see in terms of landscaping. There's kind of dark green for trees, and those are the existing trees that we're keeping. And then sort of the lighter green trees and shrubs are what are proposed. And I think we ended up, for the redeveloped portion of the site, we needed 44 shade trees, and we've got 46. And it's impossible to see on this plan, but for all the proposed new islands, we have landscape clusters. And I didn't specify exact specific plants for those, but just kind of a general outline so that a landscaper can look at it, meet the town's goals, but also corporate Honda has some specific requirements in terms of they want flowers that aren't too colorful to distract from cars, that sort of thing. So these are the considerations. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? Utilities, talked about fire protection. The buildings will the existing building is sprinklered. The new building will be sprinklered. There are existing hydrants at both corners of the property. I did talk to the rural department chief. He said he can serve the project, and there's a letter to that effect in the study. In terms of erosion prevention and the other end of stormwater during construction, we'll be applying for a construction general permit from the state as a low-risk project. The disturbed area will be limited. Obviously, we've got the new parking lot here, and these new islands and around this building. Those are the main disturbed areas, but the soils up here are good in terms of they're not erodible soils, and up here it's pretty flat, so we should not have a lot of runoff during construction, but we'll have stabilized construction entrance and silt fence and seeding and mulching of stockpiles if they're going to be there for a while, all the standard construction management stuff. And I think that's, from the site end of things, that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on. If you've got questions for me now, or if you want to have Dennis
No.
dive into his end, or...
We'll take them now on this part.
Yeah.
Any questions? I have a couple. Is the existing Honda sign staying?
Both signs are going to stay.
Okay, it's not being moved?
No, at first we were looking to gain parking, and they're both, the Honda sign is in the middle here. That's going to stay. We were thinking about moving the Toyota sign and gaining one more spot, but decided it wasn't worth it. So we will add one small sign, and I'm not sure if it shows on this plan, but we wanted to put a small pylon sign, this height, just so when you turn in, that would say for specifically to reference, thank you, Honda customers where to go, because it might not be completely obvious for them.
I have one other question. In the back here, there's some, I don't know if it's a wall or what, but it's not shown on your, on
Back
that
of
chart.
the existing building?
This. This and this.
Oh, sure.
These are walls?
Those will be, right, so between, this is the edge of the existing parking, and then this is the edge of the new parking, and it goes up, depending on where you are, between 2 to 6 feet. So some of it we can grade out, some of it will have low walls, but nothing more than 3 feet tall.
Barry?
Do I understand correctly that this new additional parking area is going to be a slope?
Yes, it'll
It's
be.
not going to be terraced, it's going to be a slope?
It will be, right, it's not going to be terrace parking. It'll be pretty much overall slope.
Any other questions? Yes, okay, Barry.
I don't understand that.
What's that?
You're saying that this isn't going to be terraced at all? It's not going to be flat way apart?
The slope.
It's gotta be terraced.
The slope across the back it's going to be about 4%, which it's maybe a little bit steeper than what they've got already. Yeah, I wouldn't want to park on anything, let's say, over 5%. And I think, if that was, we could talk about it. It wouldn't make a difference in terms of the overall size, but that's something we could do. You'd end up adding in more walls on the low end of the terrace, but I think it works as is. You know, this isn't for customers to come and park at, you know, this would be only employees accessing it, so it's, you know, if it were a, you know, an office building parking lot, I think we'd look at terracing it just because you've got, you know, everybody coming and going, but the people who access this it'll be pretty limited. And it's less of a concern of, you know, you open the door and it flies away from you and hits into the car next to you, because the employees will be a little more careful, I think.
Yes, Charles?
So that's not where they're going to display cars, it's the employee parking there?
It's a mix of employee parking, and I can't remember the exact term, but what we can't have is cars that are ready to sell. I can't 100% remember what that restriction was, Dan, if you can.
Well, because it's in the industrial zone, it can't be used for sales.
Right. So it would be, you know, cars that, you know, cars come in, they've got to get prepped, and, you know, that takes a while, and they peel the white stuff off it. So it's, you know, cars that are coming in, used cars that aren't ready for sale yet, new deliveries that aren't ready for sale yet, and employee parking.
So where are they going to display the cars?
It would be for Toyota, you know, up front, this is all the display area they've had before. For Honda, it would be the area behind the building, and they've got a little bit on the side. This, in between the buildings, this is mostly for customer parking for, you know, people dropping off for the repair shop, and just a few limited spaces in front. And that's, you know, certainly, we would prefer to have this set back and have more display in front, but we can't do that, so that's where the display will, all the display parking will be in the original part of the development, kind of within this gray zone. And then as cars get sold, and, you know, they've got one in the back, and then they'll take it out and they'll put it up front. Those do a lot of stock rotating, right?
Yeah, Barry?
Additional lighting.
Yes. Again, it's probably easier to see on your plan without all the hatching, but we've got a number of light poles. They're shown in red. They're small rectangles. They don't jump out at you.
They're only on.
Those are the propane.
So they're mostly, you know, we've got new lighting around both buildings, which you can see on the lighting plan itself, which has the light levels. It makes it a little confusing, but on the lighting plan, which is maybe one of the last ones in your packet, in blue, they've got each fixture labeled, and I think it's there's only 3 different kinds. The WP1s, which are on the buildings, and then the pole-mounted lights, which they end up being within the landscaping islands, you know, kind of interspersed among the trees, both in the main part and in the rear of the lot as well. I think we've got one over on the side parking. But they're around both buildings and then in the landscaping islands for the most part. And they're all downcast, cut off, dark sky fixtures.
Any others? Okay.
Thanks, Fred.
Should I present off this easel or this one for the mannequin?
Either one, as long as you sign in and.
Just sign and state your name, please.
The camera can probably see it better.
Becca? Can you see it better on the other one?
It's always tough to see these on camera, and no matter what people do, so I'm pretty lucky about it at this point.
Hello, my name's Dennis Raguso with Cybers and Raguso Architects. I guess first we'll start walking through the Honda dealership and then we'll jump into the Toyota dealership. If I go too fast, can't hear me, just let me know. So the Honda dealership is a new building that's being positioned on the site, which Frank mentioned earlier. It is approximately 15,000 square feet. Typical car dealership, we have our showroom up front, support space in the middle, part storage, service bays in the back. Typical circulation would be, we have our new car display up front. If you're coming in for service, we have our service drive here. Enter the service bay, you'll come out, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 service bays in the back. So they'll come in, out, and then they'll backload into the service bays. As everyone's aware with car dealerships, we have a prototype that we work with when it comes to what the building's going to look like and the finishes. So we work with Dan on that to take the Honda prototype and make it fit more within your design standards. So here's the Honda dealership right now. Typical Honda cylinder that's in the front, which is out of the blue metal panel, the Honda arch, and it's made up of the exterior storefront is made up of split face block, EPIS on this side, and on the round sides there's metal panels. We have a electronic image that shows the finishes. I do have actual samples if anyone wants to see the finishes for the Honda dealership. In the front, to help it fit within the design standards, we increased the window sizes. We changed out the cornice that was on top. We changed out materials from EPIS to stone, and we made the windows more proportioned to your design standards. Positioned next to the Honda dealership is the Toyota dealership. This one's a renovation to the existing building. We're going to tear down the existing building up to the service, which is about up to this line right here. So what stands there now will be torn down, and we're going to build a new showroom in front to meet the Toyota standards. Similar to Honda, sales in front, support spaces. The existing service bays as they stand today will remain, and the body shop in the back will remain. There is a new 4-car lane service drive that's being constructed. 4 cars. In this case, they load the service bays right from the service lane. They don't have to go outside. These are the elevations, 4 elevations for the Toyota dealership. But this is the Toyota dealership here. Similar to what we had to do with the prototype, we had to, change the style. In this case, we removed metal panels and we're using stone split face block, metal panel up high. This element that's in the front for a Toyota, that's an element that we buy directly from Toyota that's installed. And then we have the finishes here. This one we have metal panels, red metal panels, split face CMUs, and this right here is a translucent glazing that is this design element here. And I do have samples of most of the materials that we're looking at here.
Any questions? What I would like to see on all of yours, I notice there's a graphic scale. I know it says on here 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot, but I didn't know this is the full size or reduced. So if you could put a graphic scale on them so that we know.
Yes, full sizes are 1/8 scale, so I'm not sure what scale
I
you're
wasn't
looking
sure
at.
whether it had been reduced already from the larger drawing. Any further questions? Anything else?
No.
Anyone else? What's the board's pleasure?
I move that we go on to a deliberative session and
Okay.
discuss this.
Second? Charles seconds. All in favor? Hey,
So what they'll do, since this is a preliminary meeting, the first 2 meetings, if there's any additional questions or concerns, they'll ask me to communicate them to you folks so that you can come back and answer those. If their consensus is for preliminary approval as is, we'll certainly communicate that to you as well. And the next meeting, we'll be able to make comments.
Right?
Thank you very much. Motion
to adjourn and go into closed session.
All seconds, all in favor?